Welcome to episode 106 of Auto Off Topic. What's going on, Andrew?
Not much. We've got a guest this episode, Brad Brownell, automotive
Hi,
journalist.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on, Brad.
he is an automotive journalist, podcaster, creator.
Not anymore.
I was going to say, I think it's safe to say former podcaster at this point.
Okay,
Yes.
He's gone
Yeah.
from podcaster to professional podcast guest.
all right.
Yes.
I'm saying this for the future. Maybe you'll have another podcast. You know,
Maybe. Probably not.
Your fans, your adoring fans, miss the soothing sounds of your sweet voice on a weekly basis.
I'm
3 shows.
sure that is the case. It got to be the point where it was taking up way too much of my time for, my actual professional efforts.
Right.
So yeah, it just I didn't have my heart in it anymore, and I don't want to deliver a half-assed product. So
And it's way less stress to just guest on somebody else's and let them do all the work.
let us be the
Exactly.
Let us be the half-ass product.
All right. Perfect. Welcome to our half-ass
Exactly.
product. Welcome to our half-ass product, Brad.
But
you guys put a lot more effort into it than I do. So I love your show. I listened to last week's episode this morning. So yeah.
Excellent.
cool. That was the
Last week was a bit of an experiment.
driving around.
It must have been 2 weeks ago then, because it was the one about wheels.
Okay.
That's 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Oh, okay.
That's
All
okay.
right, but then my phone's not up to date.
Hey, listen, the fact that you listen at all means that we have at least one listener, and that makes us happy.
At least one. There you go.
At least one. Even if he's not up to date.
Yeah, like I said, even if we're screaming into the void, it doesn't really matter. We're still having fun every week.
I have a lot of traveling to do, so I listen to a lot of shows.
Yeah, you do have a lot of traveling going on.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, most of you that listen to our show probably know Bradley from the Camden Tub podcast or the DFL show or his short-lived yet very good podcast, Cinema Opinions with Lane. So that's where you'll know him from. He's
I actually miss doing that. That was a fun show.
I miss your recommendations. I'm only half kidding when I say people miss your voice every week because I did count on Cinema Opinions to find out what movies to go to. So
I have to confess, I never listened to it.
it was a good show.
I hadn't gotten to it.
Yeah.
I was saving it up, and I was like, oh, and then
I'll wait till they have 25 episodes.
Now I
and
can catch up.
Go through them. Yeah.
I'll never be behind.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brad is the former host of those 3 shows. So if you don't know Brad,
Yep.
Brad Lee.
Yep.
We're going to call you Brad Lee because most people do, and my name is Brad.
You can just call me Tub if you want to. That's
no. See, listen, we gotta get away from that. We don't want to typecast you, my friend.
fine. All right.
So I also had you down here as are you the creator of Radwood? Was it, I believe, was it originally your kind of idea?
It was I was the one that pushed everybody to actually do it.
Okay.
And I don't remember the exact turn of events, but I think 80s and 90s was my quote unquote idea.
Yeah.
But we had talked about doing an event. So yeah, I don't know. We just had this conversation today. I need to go back and listen to the episodes that were around the creation of Radwood.
Yeah.
Because we kind of talked about it on various podcasts. So it was like 2 years ago around Monterey Car Week. We were maybe a little bit before we started talking about that. So.
Well, that makes me feel better because Andrew and I have been talking about doing our own show for about a year now, so we still have another.
I feel like more than that. We had like a vintage imports idea like years ago, and just never got around to it.
Life got busy, and now we're floating in on the backs of your efforts with Radwood, so it's all good. So I would say that you're part of the strong hive mind that created Radwood.
That is very true.
A strong part of that would be Bradley's influence.
Yep.
And it was like probably 6 months of going to other events and seeing the other guys that are involved in Radwood and being like, so when are we going to do this Radwood thing?
Right.
And pushing them to go, yeah, maybe this isn't such a bad idea. And then we eventually did it as kind of a lark. just for us and our friends, and then it turned into like a nationwide thing. So.
And here we are.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And here we are. Yeah.
Here we are, about a month away from our, I would call Andrew and mine's. It's our home show.
It's in our backyard.
Home show.
It's our home show.
Yeah.
Like it's less than a day's drive, so it's our home show. We're taking it and running with it.
It's like
Yeah,
home turf.
Philadelphia. It's going to be good.
It's like a quarter of what we drove to Atlanta.
Yeah, it's even less than that.
I mean, I've gone further for less, but I commend you guys for the dedication to the cause.
We've also gone further for less, so it's okay.
I mean, to be fair, the Grid Life was a good attraction to it. That was for us at least, to check it out, because that was a neat show I'd been hearing about for a number of years, and I wanted to check out. So it was worth it for that too.
And Road Atlanta's cool, and the food in the area is good. You get to go to a Waffle House.
Yeah, anytime we're south of Philadelphia, we go to Waffle House by law, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
By law. Yeah, and Andrew and I had both been to Road Atlanta, but believe it or not, on 2 separate occasions, never together. Which is strange for those who listen all the time, probably know that Andrew and I seem to do everything together. But he'd been down there for...
It was Petit Le Mans in 2014.
Petit Le Mans, yeah, and I'd been down there for the Walter Mitty vintage sports car races.
In like 2006.
I've been to both of those events, and they're both awesome.
Yeah, the Mitty was a good time, but that was back in... Yeah, that was probably 06, 05, 06. It was a long time ago.
So before we get too far, Brad has had a long and varied car history.
This is Bradley. This is confusing.
And he enjoys a good clunk bucket like we do. And however, all that's been well covered online and on the Camden Tub podcast, so we're not going to go down that road.
No.
We are.
I did just get a new project car, though.
Okay. What is that?
We can maybe talk about that for a minute.
We can.
So, I'm sure people are familiar with my crappy MG that I had for a bit.
Yeah, the hoodless, windshieldless wonder.
Yes. I traded it for a 924S, 1987 Porsche 924S.
Seems like you got the better end of the deal.
How many drugs did you have to give him before you decided to make the choice?
So I effectively purchased or traded for it as a shell. It does have an engine in it, but it's an automatic car that does not have a transmission. So there's no third pedal, there's no cluster, there's no shifter, there's no linkage, there's none of that. I'm effectively pulling the entire drivetrain and installing a different one. So I have this idea of making a track car. I'm going to put a Volkswagen 1.8T out of like a later Passat, like a 2000-ish Passat.
At AWW block or whatever.
AEB or something
AEB,
like that.
That's
I don't
one,
know.
yeah.
There's
a few different ones.
That makes sense because it's it's facing the right direction.
Yes, exactly. And I'm debating between a 944 turbo gearbox and a 6-speed out of a 968.
So that's a transaxle car, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
It is a transaxle car, yes.
So the gearbox is in the rear of the car.
Is in the rear, and there's a torque tube between the middle.
Much like a Corvette.
And then you put an adapter plate and a custom flywheel on the bell housing that's on the torque tube, and then you can bolt a 1.8T to it.
And do they make an adapter plate for that?
There is a company that does make that adapter plate.
Sweet.
Yes.
All right, that makes the whole swap less daunting.
Yes,
for sure.
The only thing is I would have to fabricate like engine mounts, and it requires modification of like the intake and the exhaust and stuff like that. But
minor.
I figure for a race car, it's going to need all that anyway.
The hardest thing in any kind of engine swap is adapting the transmission to the engine. So if somebody makes a kit for it, then you're halfway through the project already.
Yep, for sure. So that's going to be like a Radwood track car. It's going to get like a full Bob Aiken Coca-Cola livery from the late 1980s.
Yeah, the 935 style Coca-Cola.
Yeah, 935. They also had a 962 that was similar.
Okay.
They had a couple of different 935s. They had one that was like practically a prototype, and then they had one that was a little more round, like a like a Kremer K3.
Okay, so anybody who knows Coca-Cola knows the livery pretty much, because it's a red car with like the Coca-Cola ribbon and just the words Coca-Cola on it.
What's Coca-Cola? I've never heard of it.
And it says
yes.
and then on the back quarter it says "Coke is it" with an exclamation point.
Right, which is awesome. At like like the aggressive angle behind the wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that ours is going to say "Rad is it."
That's pretty rad.
Yeah,
I do like that. And you'll say Radwood instead of Coca-Cola, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down.
Like
but
that.
in like Coca-Cola script.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I'm down with this.
I like the idea
All
of it.
custom.
Because you're putting a more modern 4-cylinder in, which with you can just reflash it, and like even without probably putting a new turbo on it, it's already going to be way faster than what was in the car.
Right. Without an engine.
Yeah. Well, so
without an engine, it's faster than it was originally. So.
Correct. So the good thing is that the 1.8T is actually like 200 pounds lighter than the 2.5 that came in it.
Okay, so that's like an iron block versus an aluminum?
Yeah,
okay.
Versus an aluminum. So that's one of the big things. And then stock, it made around like 190-ish, 200 horsepower.
That's not bad, though.
And no,
the 1.8. The
1.8.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
the stock one probably made 90.
And
all right.
The stock 2.5 made 150.
Okay, which actually isn't bad.
So, no, yeah. It basically, like, a 944 or 924S basically has the same performance statistics as a new BRZ. Like, it's a little bit slow. It's about the same weight, about the same power, and acceleration and cornering and stuff are all about the same. So it's like a 25-year-old or 30-year-old BRZ.
Okay, so I've had a hankering for a 924 for a long time, for that particular reason, because I always thought they were underappreciated, fairly inexpensive point of entry into the world of Porsche.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 24s are a different story. That's a 2-liter Audi motor.
Yeah, no, 924S is what I always.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the 24S is basically just a narrow body 944.
Right, and as the owner of a narrow body Starion, it kind of appealed to me to have a narrow body Starion and a narrow body 944. So.
Yeah, perfect.
But gotta love the unloved.
Mm-hmm. My coworker has a 944.
Does he?
Yep.
Excellent.
I always
Different
wanted.
car.
Yeah, I mean, just saying, it's
in
similar.
my Starion days, I always wanted a 944 as well because it just made sense, being the same kind of basic design.
So speaking of like the collectability of 70s, 80s, 90s cars, like 944s, when I look for them on Craigslist, swing in price like so wildly. It's bizarre.
Yes. Yes. Well, a very well taken care of one is worth much more than a trash one. Like, the first one I bought was $1,500. This was a few years ago at this point. It was probably 7 years ago. It was $1,500. I drove it home. It was great. And now, one just sold at auction. A 944 Turbo just sold at auction for like $79,000.
That's absurdity.
Yeah. So, admittedly, that's like a perfect low mile example, whatever. But yeah,
all
sure.
All Porsches float on the Porsche tide.
I guess. I mean, it took a long time, but they're getting there. I mean, I remember when you could get a 914 for like $1,200.
Yeah,
as do I. I looked at lots of them. I never pulled the trigger, but I did look at more than one.
Yeah, because there were times where I drove them and I was like, I don't know if it's worth like $5,000.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it really like that much of a driving experience that it's worth that much money? Because it's basically like a Volkswagen Targa, right?
Yes,
it's kind of great. I've come around on it. I basically didn't pull the trigger because I was poor, but I've come around a lot on 914s in the time since then because they were way ahead of their time, I think.
I agree. They're a great car. I've like I said, I looked at a lot of them. I even myself looked at an air-cooled 911 once and just didn't pull the trigger because I was within $2,000 of asking price and couldn't get to where I wanted to be. That asking price was sub $10,000 at the time for a two-owner 74 Targa, but obviously that car's not sub $10,000 anymore. So
nope.
That was probably the same time period ago. It was probably 7, maybe 8 years ago.
Is that the one that was your neighbor's car?
Yeah, he wanted 9. I was at 7. And at the time, it was because the car had been sitting for a long time. It needed work, but it was almost like a Gulf blue. Don't want to say that too loudly and offend Bradley.
I like the color. I just don't like.
I don't know the proper name of the Porsche color, but it was a 74 Targa.
It could have been Gulf Blau. I mean that.
Okay.
They had that color.
It was definitely a Gulf like blue, so it could have been. Okay. But it was a 74 Targa, factory AC, 2-owner car that had been sitting since like 89 or 90. It's been sitting for a long time. So at the time, to me, $7,000 was all the money in the world, because in my mind it probably needed a $7,000 at the time engine rebuild. So.
Yeah, probably more than that. I mean, even when the cars weren't worth anything, an engine rebuild was still $12,000.
Right. So I couldn't bring myself to spend more than $7,000 on the car. And now, the looking back at it, obviously I should have spent $7,000 on the car.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but
it's hindsight is 20/20, as I say.
It is, so. And I know myself. It probably would have been parked in my garage and not touched, and I never would have done anything with it. But the way the Porsche bubble went, it would be probably a $20-something thousand car now, or a $30,000, or even more. Who knows? It's a Targa, so a little bit less, but still.
I mean, we've talked about that before. How we somehow just picked. Well, we picked Mitsubishis.
We picked lousy,
and nobody wants them. So none of our cars have really appreciated that much.
No, just a little bit,
tiny bit.
Super clean ones that are known, like Starions, like a late model clean Starion. I've seen them go in the teens now for a low mile one, but they're still, most of them are around $2,000 or free.
Like the black car at Radwood.
That's an expensive car because that's an '89, and it's like a 45,000 mile car. So that car would be a low teens car. But again,
the one with the red. Wait. The Starion.
The Starion, yes, not the 3000 GT.
Yeah, that was a gorgeous example.
Yeah, it was perfect. They don't get any better than that. So that would be probably a mid-teen $1,000 car. But
some 3000 GT VR4s are also trading pretty high too.
Yeah, I like how we have the Porsche guy on. We're right back on Mitsubishis real quick.
Whatever.
I'm into Mitsubishis. I'll give you that. I would probably.
We're
I'm probably
into
never going to buy one.
We'd have a collection of Porsches if we could afford it too. It's just one of those things that just kind of you got to get in at the right time.
Somehow, as a guy who can't afford it, I have 4 Porsches right now. So.
Right, and that's good.
However that happened.
That's good. So, but if you ever needed money, you have money to, you could sell them and make some money.
Yeah, maybe. The 912E I could probably make a profit on. The Boxster is worth almost nothing.
But almost nothing is still more than my entire collection of Mitsubishis.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, but I paid for them anyway.
I bet I could get $3,000 out of it.
Really? Oh, yeah, maybe. Given its,
you kind of ruined it.
Given its why you ruined status, I guess. Maybe you could, but nonetheless.
Those are getting pretty inexpensive now, aren't they?
Oh, they're real cheap.
That's like the only thing that comes down. It's crazy.
It's like Miata money now.
Really?
For a Boxster. Yeah.
Are they like?
They were Miata money when I bought mine. I bought mine for $7,000.
Yeah, it's cheap.
And a good NB is like $7,000.
Yeah. Even a good NA is up there now too.
Are they like totally trashed at that price? Or are they?
You can get a decent car at less than $10,000.
Yeah, mine was nice. It had some scratches in the paint, and it had like 90,000 miles. And I drove it. It was at 112, I think, when it was crashed. I didn't crash it. Somebody ran into it in a parking lot. So since then, it's just been like basically the insurance company gave me all the money I paid for it, so I just beat it. And,
net gain at this point.
Yeah, sure, yes.
We've had a few cars like that. It's okay.
No, so like, I've actually never driven a Porsche, ever.
Of any kind?
Nope.
Come visit. You can drive all of them you want.
But if I wanted to buy one, like, what would be the best entry-level one to get into?
Probably a Boxster at this point. I mean,
for sure.
First-gen Boxster?
The driving experience for the money trade-off is, like, incredible. Because it's one of the best driving cars.
And a lot of it has to do
made.
with the sound, too. It still has that flat six
so
sound.
Good.
Yeah. And even in the early cars, the 2.5 cars had IMS problems, I think. So you don't
they
have to worry
still
about
have
that.
it, but it's not nearly as bad. Like if you get the really early 97s and 98s, those are like a 1% failure, and then like the 99s and 2000s are like a 4% failure.
And even that, most of the ones that were going to fail already have.
Yeah, there's really no like it'll do it by this mileage, but if you treat it like it's a replacement part, and like every time you replace the clutch, say 60,000, 70,000 miles, you replace the IMS bearing at the same time, you'll probably be okay.
And even worst case scenario, it's the kind of car where the motor blows up, you just buy another one.
Yep.
Like not another motor, another car.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
yes. Because another motor is like $5,000.
Right.
Really?
So it doesn't make much. It doesn't make any sense.
So are they?
But
sorry.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive it till it blows up and then put an LS in it. So
that sounds like a plan.
I love your plans of grandeur, Brad, because I have all of these. I have all these same plans of grandeur. So I like that somebody else.
I have ideas.
Yes.
I have ideas.
I have many ideas as well. I love that we're on the same page. I think.
What would you say you do here? I'm an idea man.
Yeah, 100%. I have a lot of ideas. Every car I own's got some wild plan for it, but most of them just wind up getting the oil changed and driven.
Now, on the Boxster, is the service like engine out on a lot of stuff, or can be serviced?
Nope. Yeah, all the services I've done have been engine in, and really even a clutch and stuff, you take the transmission out rather than the engine.
They're not a very scary proposition to own. They're
a pretty good value. And I've done basically all the maintenance myself, and they're pretty easy to maintain.
And from what I hear, Andrew has a torque wrench, so he'll be all set.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, since I work on so many different things, like I keep needing to find weirder and different things to try to fix.
Well, I don't think a Boxster's that weird, but it's definitely different layout.
Nah, they're super simple. Super simple. Everything, like, you can get access to the entire top of the engine, and then there's an access hatch in the passenger compartment where you can get to the accessory belt and everything.
So it's just like working on a 85 Toyota van. The access from the passenger compartment into the engine compartment.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or Chris's Delica, for that matter.
Yeah. Oh, neat.
Anyway, so we have a topic to talk about today, Andrew, do we not?
We do. I guess we're going to talk about car shows.
Yeah, because we have the creator of the coolest current car show, or one of the creators. Don't offend everybody else.
But I was at, we grew up going to basically boomer shows.
Yeah, well, because our parents are of that generation.
And pretty much I feel like since the 80s through now, they've been the same exact show.
Mm-hmm. The same cars.
With the same exact cars.
And the same exact people.
Yeah. And
same exact modifications.
Yes.
And the same exact music.
Yep.
And the same exact accessories.
Yep.
In the same exact parking lots.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Probably, yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
And then when you show up to something that's slightly newer than 1974.
Yeah, you get the turned up noses and get that Jap crap out of here.
And then the complaints about this generation's not into cars.
Right.
It's like, well,
this generation's just not into the cars that they're into.
Yeah.
Right. Which they have
Those are the only cars they care about.
Yeah, which they have to understand they're not into the cars the generation before them was into. So
yeah. You don't see a lot of pre-war cars at cruise night. You do, but it's not like a lot.
And it's mostly the guys that are 97 and still able to drive them that are driving them.
I know.
There's not a lot of 50, 60-year-old guys driving around in Model Ts. Stock Model Ts,
Right.
anyway.
I will have to say,
Right.
though, we were at that Cars and Coffee at the beginning of the summer, and
Mhm.
like a kid in his mid-20s to early 30s rolled up
I think he's younger
in
than
a
that.
Model T.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
And they had to live locally because it was right in Boston.
Dude rolled in off the street in downtown Boston in a Model T, jumped out, took his girlfriend's hand, and walked away like it was a normal day occurrence. So it was pretty cool. And the kid was, I would even say, probably early 20s. So it was really neat to see.
You know,
Parked it up like a boss.
I guess the only fun thing is, I mean, I like muscle cars.
Oh, of course. I own a muscle car.
Yeah, but
Bradley owns a muscle car, too.
Not anymore.
You don't anymore?
No, I sold my '68.
Oh. Okay.
My little brother bought it from me.
Did you in turn buy his 86?
No, he decided he wanted to keep it.
Hmm.
So I no longer have a Mustang. This is the first time in my driving life that I have not had a Mustang.
That's interesting. I'm
Yeah.
kind of sad to hear that because I've never not had a 68 Camaro. So
I wasn't really emotionally connected to the car. I haven't turned a wrench on it in 10 years. My brother has time and money, so he's gonna try to get it restored and make it nice. And he told me I could drive it whenever I want, which is part of the
yeah,
sale.
that's good. So it's better for the car, and it's not going away.
And I kind of decided that even if I were to get it out west, because it was in Michigan for a long time,
Right.
if I were to get it out to my garage, I would rather spend time working on Radwood cars.
Okay.
yeah,
And it doesn't make sense to put effort into a car from the 60s when you run a show for 80s and 90s cars.
Well, you got to be careful
So-
not to get yourself stuck in that one little thing either, and kind of enjoy.
There's so much in the 80s and 90s though that
there is. Most of my
I'm
bucket list
way
cars.
okay with it.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
of my bucket
Yeah.
list cars are probably 80s and 90s cars, with
Yeah.
a few outsiders,
Well,
70s mostly.
I mean, I've still got the 70s 912 that I can
Right.
mess with if I have to. So.
well, that's the problem is that for so long, 60s cars have been unattainable for younger people because they're so goddamn
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
And like, I would love
Yep.
to have a 60s car, but I just one right now I don't have the space, and two, I can't afford one. I can't spend
Yep.
25, 30 grand on an entry level 60s car.
And more than that, they're a little more finicky than stuff from the 80s and 90s too.
Oh, for sure.
What are you
'Cause,
talking
like-
about? They're so simple.
Yeah. They don't make them like they used to anymore, Bradley.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you have to tune carburetors. You have to do. I mean, I'm not opposed to that stuff. It's just, you guys drove 1,000 miles without messing with anything, aside from your charging issues.
Excuse me. It was 2,500 miles.
I meant
sir.
one way,
Okay.
but okay.
Yes. It was
but, like-
very simple.
Yeah.
But it's much harder to hop in a 68 Camaro and go 2,000 miles in a weekend.
Yeah, it's also a lot more money in gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have never done a long road trip in the Camaro. I've done like a 2 or 3 hour trip, but that's about the tops. So maybe
anyhow,
I should make that happen. I am probably
Car
moving out
shows.
west soon, so
Yeah.
Ooh, cross country would be cool.
I might drive that cross country. Yeah.
So recently, actually just before Radwood, there's a big car show here in Reno called Hot August Nights,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only for hot rods and muscle cars.
The name alone makes me think that it's a boomer show.
It's very much a boomer show, and I attempt to go every now and again because it takes up the whole week, and it's like 20 shows across the city. Like each casino has their own parking lot show every day, all day. So
So it's like
and then there's
it's like blue collar car week.
kinda, yeah. That's a good way to put it. So I go to some of these shows, and it's literally just people in lounge chairs sitting next to their car,
right,
in a hot parking lot, and they like they don't get up, they don't talk to anybody. Like, not to belittle him, but a friend of mine took a car to this show, and there was another show across town that was purported to be for modern classics. So anything outside of the realm of their 1973 cutoff is pushed into this modern classic show. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to that, and I'll take some photos for Radwood and stuff. It'll be great. I drove by. It was like a new Thunderbird and a couple of SM95 S197 Mustangs and a Hellcat and a couple Camaros. I'm like, there's like 10 cars here. This isn't a show.
right.
I'm not paying to get in.
It's just a few friends.
It's a used car lot.
Oh yeah, that's one of my problems with current car shows. But go on.
So, yeah. So anyway, I was texting him and I was like, "Hey, do you want to meet at this modern classics car show?" And he goes, "Nah, I've got a good parking spot with a tree, so I'm in the shade. I'm in the shade and I can't leave." I was like, "What?" So I went to visit him after it was a bust. I went to see where his parking spot was. He was literally just parked on the side of the road next to a tree, and they had cordoned off this area of the road, so there wasn't any traffic or anything. But he was next to a tree, and he just had like 5 guys in camp chairs sitting around talking, and they had been there since like 9 a.m. And
awesome.
I'm like, what? How is this? I mean, you can do this playing poker or going fishing, or I mean, I guess it's around cars, but like you're not looking at anybody else's car.
You look at the back of your car.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah.
I had a similar discussion.
You can do that in your garage.
I had a similar discussion with my father this weekend because there were 2 local car shows this weekend.
Yep.
Both of them were run by people I know. One was run by Andrew's work, and one was run by a friend of mine who's a police officer in a local town, and it was the police department's car show. So I wanted to go to both shows. It wound up being about 125 miles of driving total. But before leaving my house, going to the first show, leaving the first show, going to the second show, and driving back home again. So I was talking to my father, and I said, "Hey, are you going to Andrew's car show in the morning?" And he's like, no, I want to go to the Essex Police show. And I was like, all right, well, Andrew's show is 8 or 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
And the Essex Police car show is 1 to 5. So you can leave Andrew's show like a half hour early, and you can easily do both shows. He's like, oh, I don't know, it's a lot of driving. And I'm like, Dad, you're into cars. You collect cars. The whole purpose of collecting cars is to go driving your car. Yeah. So you don't want to go to 2 shows because you have to drive too much? Why do we have cars? I don't understand. I don't get this. Well, it's a lot of work. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's not a lot of work. You're driving your car. That's like, I'd much rather drive all day than go to any car shows, but I'm supporting these 2 local shows.
What it was built for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did 125 miles in the 78 Colt, and I was totally happy with it. So
that's the.
I mean, that's a short distance too. That's what, a 2-hour drive tops.
Around, all told, like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So
that's the funny thing when I go to a car show, which isn't very often, or like a Cars and Coffee, I usually jump out of my car and then I don't look at it
until we're leaving.
Until I'm leaving,
Well, I think a lot of people that go to these shows, they want to show off. They're more into the look what I have than they are into the culture of spending time with other people, learning about the other cars and seeing the other cars. I think that's the problem with a lot of it. But that's just my take on it.
It's be seen rather than see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the keeping up with the Joneses. It's the, Tommy down the street had a 57 Chevy for 20 years. I can finally get a 57 Chevy to go to the shows with him and sit next to them and show everybody our 57 Chevys.
Which, to be fair, is a way to enjoy your car if you want to do it, but it's not, I don't know, it seems kind of lame. Like you're not, there's better ways to do it, I think.
Yeah. Like if I had a 57 Chevy, I would autocross it. Because why not? Just drive the things.
Yeah. My grandfather says that he ran moonshine in a 55, so
yeah, that's awesome.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's not kind of cool, that's actually cool.
Other than that, I think Tri-5s are kind of lame, if I'm being honest.
Well, no, they're an iconic looking car. But I think was it a Torchinsky article the other day on Jalopnik where he's like, hot take, the 57 Chevy is kind of a blah car.
Yeah.
So, yeah, blah car Mondays or meh car Mondays.
Meh car Mondays.
Yeah, he did the 57 Chevy. Which he's not wrong. It's just a full frame car with a solid rear axle and, a bench seat. It's nothing special.
I never thought of it that way until like I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's kind of right. It was, but it was just an iconic design for the time. It became a symbol of Americana, and it's just kind of the pinnacle car of the 50s.
And there's nothing boomers like better than 50s Americana.
Yeah.
So
I think they're good looking, but
no, they're a good looking car. But again, he was right. There's not much.
It's kind of like a truck. It probably drives like one.
A modern truck is a full frame, same front suspension. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it is what it is, I guess. And then I get a kick out of the people when you go to these car shows and you kind of like try to talk to them about their car and they're just kind of like, meh, like they just don't want to talk to you, or like you're bothering them, or it's like, well, why did you come here?
Yeah.
Nobody made you come here.
I'm usually at a show, well, definitely at a show, I'm way more than happy to talk about my car.
Yeah.
But I'm almost never next to my car.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would rather like go somewhere else and talk to other people about
their cars,
anything else than,
I generally make an attempt.
Ostensibly,
I generally make an attempt to walk away from my car when I park it at a car show, for the same reason. Like I'll park the car
to go see stuff.
Yeah, and then usually, because my cars are weird, I usually attract a weird crowd. Which is, I guess to be expected. But I've had some interesting conversations with people about Dodge Colts that I never thought I'd have in my life. Who they don't know anything about them either. They just remember them. They have all these stories about them in the past, which is fine. I'll entertain them for a little while, but I need to eventually break away from this.
Either they had one, or their uncle had one,
or they know for a fact that they were the biggest piece of shit that was ever put in the lot at a Dodge dealer. That's one I've gotten before too. How is this thing still running? I know for a fact these were garbage cars. Like, actually, they're probably the most reliable thing on the Dodge lot in '78, sir. Yeah, but that's okay.
Probably the best Mopars of that generation.
Oh, 100%. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a kid. Although, which I also still get, even though I'm, a couple years away from 40. Yeah. We don't have to put that out there, but pretty damn close. My 20th high school reunion's next year. Like I've been playing this game for a long time.
Someone the other day told me I look older than my Porsche, and they were talking about the '76, and I was like,
"Ooh,
oh,
that's a
thanks."
Yeah, ouch.
I guess.
Well, I've also had the. Did you buy this thing brand new in my '68 Camaro? What? And I'm like, guy, like honestly, let's do some quick math here.
Do you get the what year is it question?
All the time. What year is it?
Yeah. What? So this is my question. What are they going to do with that information?
Are they going to file it away in the mental Rolodex? And hopefully, in the future, they'll see my car again, and they'll be with somebody they can impress, and they'll be like, hey, that's a 68. I know that car.
I mean, maybe if
I've had that question so many times. Yes. What year is it?
Yeah.
And
people
it's a 2017.
Yeah. People work really hard to get your attention, like at a traffic light. And they're like making all these hand gestures and like rolling their window down. They're like, all right, roll the window down. Like, hey, what's going on? What year is that car? It's a 78. All right, thanks. Do you even know what it is, sir?
I got one time at a gas station. I got the trifecta. I got, what year is it?
How fast is it?
No.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
I've been asked that before, but no, I got, what year is it? Are you going to restore it? And how much would you sell it for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all common questions. Now, again,
are you going to offer me cash right now if I tell you some ridiculous number?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so there was one time where I was at the gas station in my Porsche, and somebody said, I'm trying to buy one of those. And I go, okay, I mean, what are you looking for? And he goes, well, was this one for sale? And I go, everything's for sale.
Right.
And he goes, well, what do you got to have for it? And I go, that's not how this question works.
Right. How bad do you want it?
What are you willing to offer?
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't know, like $4,000.
Yeah, you're not looking very hard, are you, buddy?
I'm like, all right, no.
Yeah.
Listen,
hard pass.
I know what I have.
Yeah. Hard pass.
Yeah, exactly.
So I often get
rare.
I often get the "Are you going to restore it?" because most of my cars are original paint cars because I prefer that look to it over a stored shiny brand new car.
Absolutely.
So
Same boat.
I get that all the time. But the one that I
admittedly, my Porsche looks worse than most.
So you haven't seen my Colt up close. It's not that great.
The paint is pretty bad. Like the roof looks like it was put on with a brush.
Okay.
It's pretty bad.
But the one that I get all the time driving a Dodge Colt is, what's that thing get? Like 45 miles per gallon? Negative. But I wish it did.
Did anything with a carburetor get 45 miles to the gallon?
Don't think so. No. Maybe. Well, actually, that CRX HF wasn't that carbed.
Oh, was it?
I don't know. I think it was. I could be wrong. The pedantic corrections department might have to come back next week with that one.
Perhaps.
And let us know for sure. But anyway.
I mean, that's where drivable projects come in, right? Because
my entire fleet.
Yeah, I could never, ever afford, I still can't afford to have a car properly repainted.
Right.
So I just buy a car with the nicest paint I can find or decent looking quote-unquote patina and just live with it. Because otherwise, if the bones are good,
right,
what difference does it make?
Doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter.
You're just trying to impress at that point.
Like, I know you guys really like Roadkill, and I'm not totally into it.
Right.
But I get
it. I'm not like over the top fanboy, but I watch it.
And I get it.
This most recent one made me upset.
I have not seen it yet.
They were just throwing cars off of mountains for the fun of it.
But that wasn't them. They went to a place where they went to a place where that happens anyway.
Yeah, but it's still annoying. Like
I agree. The same reason that I hate demolition derbies.
Yes.
I really despise
that car was once somebody's baby.
Yeah, the car runs good enough to run a demolition derby. It's not trash.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That's I hate it.
Yeah. I
all right.
I have cars that are worse that I wouldn't demolition derby.
This is how you end up with a giant yard full of cars.
Hey Bradley.
Yeah,
hey Bradley.
You know what?
I'm moving out west, and I plan on buying at least 2.5 acres. So if you need some space, come on by.
Hell yeah.
We can save all the demo derby cars.
I said that Brad is going to buy a ranch and he's going to keep all his Colts there.
Yes. This is going to happen.
That's funny.
I mean, I get it. Like, they fix up cars just enough and they make them run.
There's a place just outside of town here called Mustang Ranch, but it does not have Fords. So.
What, it has actual horses?
It's a brothel.
I was going to say, isn't that a brothel? It is Nevada.
Okay. I think I'm glad I didn't know that one.
Don't Colts take all your money too?
They do. They do.
Yeah. Anyway. So car shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a great car show at the Mustang Ranch every year, I hear. No.
Well, that's where we get into. We'll jump right into the Radwood effect, right? So you guys created this car show for 80s and 90s cars. And in the same vein, I also didn't know about Brad recently told me about the Malaise car show.
Yeah. Malaise Motors.
And
there's one. They're in L.A. I honestly didn't know that it was a show.
Yeah, it was a show for the first time this year. It was a Facebook group. That grew into a show. Yeah.
Okay.
Or two shows they've had now, maybe.
2 shows. They had one, I think, in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. That was
one in Los Angeles at a museum.
It's significantly less produced than Radwood.
Yes.
It's more the people on the Facebook page organized a day where they all met up.
All right.
Yep.
So.
But basically what I'm getting at is these are car shows for quote-unquote unloved cars.
Yes.
Cars that aren't considered normal classics.
Cars that we get made fun of for spending time and effort on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though those same people probably got made fun of for doing that 30 years ago.
Anecdotally, I have a small story about that. My father talks about when he first joined our local car club, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
The North Shore Old Car Club. When he first joined it back in 85 or 84.
Because it was started in like 55.
It was started in 1955.
And they were restoring pre-war cars.
Yes. But he joined he joined in 1984-ish, and he had a 67 Camaro. He joined in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And he had a 67 Camaro, and everybody in the group was just like, that's not an antique, that's a used Camaro. So
it was.
Yeah. But that's all. This is a time worn, thing that just happens through generations. That just keeps going and going and going, but for some reason, and I don't know why, old cars stopped being old in 74.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was the gas crisis thing. People just had this vision that like car culture died
with emissions
in 1974. Like, there's no possible way to have fun with a car that was built after 74.
Right, and that's what I don't understand. So, I mean, maybe in California where you're not allowed to modify a car at all, it's 74 and newer, but out here...
Even still, there were tons of fun cars built in 74.
Oh, for sure.
I mean...
I own a 74. So, we're good. Yeah. I have a 74, believe it or not, Dodge Colt.
Story checks out.
Would you believe that I believe it?
Yeah, I believe you believe it, yes. Actually, your Toyota pickup's a 74, isn't it?
No, I think it's 76. The MG was a 74.
Okay, so yeah, we had 74s lying around.
Yeah.
But basically, so if you haven't heard us talk about Radwood before, which is unlikely if you're listening to this show, but it's for cars from 1980.
Especially if you've made it 50 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 1980 cars through 1999, which is what we're calling the Rad era.
Mm-hmm.
And this was especially exciting to us because we had grown up owning late 80s and 90s cars.
Yeah, I've pretty much owned almost nothing but Rad era cars in my life.
Except for your 68 that you had since you were a kid.
I have a 68 Camaro, I have a 71 NSU, and a couple Colts that are pre-Rad.
But you had those well after your early 80s and your early era of owning 80s and 90s cars, I would say.
Yeah.
Like when you first started driving, that's what you were driving.
I drove an 85 Cutlass.
Exactly.
Got rid of it for a 90 Eagle Talon.
Yep.
Got rid of it for an 87 Conquest.
Yep.
So those are all Rad era cars.
And these were only like 10 or 12-year-old cars at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, you couldn't go to shows with them. There was no shows for these.
Absolutely not.
There was owners groups,
yep.
And that was it.
Yep. There were internet bulletin boards.
Yes.
And that was about it.
So we were super excited when we first heard about Radwood, and we were like, darn it, it's in L.A.
Yeah.
Or actually, your first one was in San Francisco.
These are our people, and they're so far away.
Yeah. So, I mean, that basically, it's like, I guess it's our generation, right? You're in your late 20s to like 40s.
Mm-hmm.
These are the cars that you want to spend your time with, I guess. Because that's what you grew up with.
And there's some outsiders. There's some younger people and some older people that have gone to these shows as well.
Yeah.
It's not just our lame millennials. Self-identifying lame millennials.
Yes.
There's others as well.
You mean millennials that aren't into cars?
Right. Yeah. Tell the 6,000 people that went to Radwood 3.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Radwood NorCal was a hit. I find that our show is it's leaning millennial with a little bit of Gen X. Our demographics, I mean, most of our social media, most of our advertising is done on social media,
which is the millennial generation.
So,
yeah.
Which is millennial, yeah. So we're going to attract more millennials, but in that vein, we're getting a lot of millennials. Like our main group is like 25 to 35.
Okay, so I'm not too far outside.
No, but I know we've met a couple older people that have gone.
Oh, for sure.
And we
absolutely, yeah.
And it's not like they want to relive their past, like like they're stuck. They just enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing to remember based on the doo-wop car shows that we're used to growing up with. Is these are people who don't like what's going on in their current life, and they're romanticizing the past to a point where it's like weird. Like
it's very weird.
They want the past to be the current. They want doo-wop to be on every FM station, or they don't want FM to exist. I guess at that point, they want they want to have cigarette packs rolled up in their sleeves and realize that this isn't going to give me cancer. Like they're romanticizing the 1950s and the 1960s because they're not. I don't know if it's a sad thing or what it is, but they weren't old enough then to know what it was. Because let's face it, most people who are in their 50s and 60s, who are the ones that own these 57 Chevys, 63 Thunderbirds, etc., are 55 to 65, and most of them are born in the 50s.
Right.
So they don't have a lot of memories of the 50s. So they're over-romanticizing what happened then, and they're not. And they're taking it way too serious. I think that's the big differentiation.
I think the big distinction there is that I don't think anyone at Radwood is honestly like the 80s and 90s were the best time.
No, they're just a time that we have cars from, so let's do something about it.
Yeah, and it's like it's tongue in cheek, the dressing up and the culture and all that. Like it's just having fun where, we don't want to go back to that time. It's more of like a
No, we want
we can have fun with it. We can go
Halloween.
way over the top. Yeah, it's a little bit like Halloween.
Yeah. So I mean, I have pictures from my parents of me at car shows in like 1987.
Yeah.
1986 when I'm like 5 years old. And I'm not even dressed then as ridiculous as everybody that goes to Radwood. So I know it's not really what it was. And, Andrew made a point the other day when we were driving to Radwood, Atlanta, and he said, "Man, I have all these accessories for the car with my Game Boy and my, bag phone. It's like we're getting dangerously close to like crying baby dolls and, plastic food in a tray in the door." But at the same time, it's like, no, we're not, because it's a joke. It's a game. It's fun. It's not like we're going to do this every Wednesday night at the car show behind the mall now.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's where it gets strange.
I guess we're self-aware about it.
Yeah.
The 80s and 90s had their fair share of social problems. They weren't the greatest times. There were some good times.
But there were good times in every generation. There were good times in the 1950s. There were good times in the 60s. There were good times in the 70s. And there were good times in the 80s. But you can't romanticize the whole thing and be like, I wish it was 1955 again and I could beat my wife who stayed home and cooked me dinner all day. Like, it's not exactly like that.
I was going to go more with I feel like everybody thinks the 50s are the movie Grease. Like that's what everybody thinks of when they think of the 50s.
But
it wasn't really like that.
Horrible movie.
But that is possibly one of the top 10 worst movies of all time. But even the movie Grease is not an actual accurate representation of the 50s because it was made in the 80s.
Yeah.
Much like anything
and
about the
Cars
50s.
Fly.
Well, and that too, but
there's nothing
for
that says
no reason
50s nostalgia, or there's nothing that says 1980s nostalgia like 1950s nostalgia.
This is very true.
That's right.
This is very true, which is why the only movie from the 80s that really got it right was Back to the Future, because it took it tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
It wasn't serious. It wasn't like, hey, this is the way the 50s was. It was more, I don't know, it was fun. It was less, I don't know, wife beater.
Yeah, I guess you have you have a movie that basically captured both
the rad era,
peak 1980s and peak 50s.
Yeah. But it's more accurate in 1980s.
And Back to the Future 2 was peak 1980s futurism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Where's my flying forward probe, man? I need one.
We were promised hoverboards.
Yeah. No, I don't want a hoverboard. I just want a flying forward probe. I mean,
I want a dehydrated pizza machine.
This is true too.
Anyway,
I want video phone. Oh wait.
But anyway, the great thing about Radwood is that it's open to anyone with a rad era car, right?
Or even not.
What do you mean not?
Show up to the show in costume.
Oh, right.
You don't have to have a car.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to have a car. If you're just into 80s and 90s cosplay, come on down.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Do we have an 80s con for you?
Yeah. Nobody's going to scoff at you. Nobody's going to make fun of you.
They might make fun of you at the Starbucks on the way there buying your coffee. But who gives a crap?
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, who gives a crap?
That's the thing is I think that I'm to the age where, like, I don't care.
You're not trying to impress anybody.
I'm not there to impress anyone. I'm just having fun.
You own the house, you got the girl.
And if you want to make fun of me for it, yeah.
Yeah, you own the house, you got the girl. Who are you trying to impress now?
Exactly.
I get it. It is a little off-putting walking into a... I'm just thinking back to Radwood Atlanta morning when we walked into the Starbucks and
nobody cares.
You were the one that was like, I don't know. I was maybe it's because I'm.
You're the one that cares.
Probably, yeah.
A lot of people dress like that now. Like,
yep.
It's like totally normal to see people wearing neon again. Like it's all come back.
Yeah, I mean, people will look at you, but like, I don't care. Who cares?
Yeah.
So, we had a whole structured topic for the show tonight, and we haven't hit our points at all. But it's cool because it's been a good, open, loose conversation. I like it.
We roughly followed it.
Kind of roughly. I
will admit that I don't think that I don't think Radwood has officially started anything, but I think we're riding a wave, and it's definitely added to it.
Au contraire, sir. I do not agree with you because I was at a completely non-Radwood related show this weekend, and there was a Mark Cross edition Chrysler LeBaron wood-sided convertible, and it had an original 1984 Polaroid camera perched on the center console, and I was looking for the owner of the car because I almost guarantee that was a Radwood-inspired move.
Could have been.
Because I have never seen an 80s accessory in an 80s car at a car show. I think, other than at Radwood. I think that's the first time I saw it outside of Radwood. And it was very prominently displayed in the middle of the car. And the guy I saw driving the car away was probably 35 to 45, somewhere in that age range.
All right.
So I was hoping to see him, but I didn't get to catch him. I wanted to ask him, where he got the idea from or... what inspired it, but I think that you guys have opened up the world a little bit more than you think you have to the acceptability of 80s and 90s cars as collector cars. As collector cars, it wasn't 5 years ago where I would have a hard time insuring an 80s or 90s car with a collector car policy, and now all of a sudden I can.
I was this year, so the Gallant, I was through Grundy, and Grundy said no, they wouldn't insure my Gallant. It's not collectible enough.
Right, a limited number run car with an actual production plaque on the dashboard.
Like, okay, I will take my business elsewhere then.
Yeah.
And I went to American Collectors, and they insured it for me.
Right.
Along with my Talon that I had with Grundy. My Talon was apparently more collectible than the limited edition Gallant.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I do think you guys have... I mean, yeah, you're definitely riding the wave that's already here a little bit. But you're taking it and you're bringing that wave to the masses.
I think there's been a wave of nostalgia for the 80s and 90s since the 90s.
Right.
I mean, look back at, what was that? I Love the 80s on VH1.
Yeah, in the 90s.
That was in the 90s.
2000s.
So that...
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically, but I get your point.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was U.S. TV series.
I was looking it up as well.
Well, you guys definitely had a right...
Okay, it was 2002.
Yeah.
It was 2002.
That's almost the 90s.
I just remember watching it at, when you weren't old enough to drink, you go hang out in somebody's house in high school.
My basement.
Yeah.
My basement.
And it would, just be on TV, and we'd be watching it, because we were all children of the 80s, so... But, yeah, you guys definitely had a right time, right place to capitalize on this 80s and 90s nostalgia with a car show. And I mean, it definitely wasn't by accident. Like you guys saw it coming and capitalized on it, and it's awesome. So we thank you for that because we are having fun going to them.
We're having fun riding your coattails of the Radwood show. Yes. But
yes,
and we're more than willing to do anything you want us to do to help out, promoting it or helping out the show or whatever. So
Cult of Radwood.
well, I mean,
yeah.
This is definitely a good start. Just having me on the show and talking about it, I've appreciated that for sure.
Yeah, no, we've wanted to have you on for a long time, even from back when you were on Camden Tub on a regular basis, because we had Cam on.
I swear I've been on the show before, but
you have not.
Nope.
Nope.
All right.
You've just been on so many podcasts where just one of the others.
Yeah, I guess.
That show, I guess I've been there. I don't even know anymore.
I don't even know. So yeah, I mean, I love the show. I'm glad that you guys are trying to, do something outside of the norm. You have like actual educational bits and stuff. It's fun.
We try. Those are hard. Those are harder because they require work.
And I'm super grateful that you guys have been on board with Radwood since the beginning. So,
we've been Radwood since before there was a Radwood. So when it came up, we're like,
right.
man,
that's right.
We need this in our lives. As I sit here, still in my cargo pants that I've been wearing since 1993.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the next show, and this will be your guys' third event.
It will be, because we flew to L.A. and we drove to Atlanta, and now you're going to have to deal because we're coming strong with a lot of Mitsubishis to Radwood, Philadelphia.
We have not had enough Mitsubishis. It's been.
You're not going to say that after Radwood, Philadelphia, because I think we have 5 or 6 Monteros, possibly 2 Delicas, and I know of at least 3 Snarians.
I hope
this is not counting our cars.
I hope it looks like a Mitsu dealer in 1994.
Yes, the used car department of a 1993 Mitsubishi dealer.
Yeah.
So I mean, we ourselves are bringing at least 3 Mitsubishis. So
yeah, awesome.
And we have, like I said, we have a ton. We have most of the Northeast Mitsubishi owners know them, and we're pushing them to go. So, in fact, our Montero group, if anybody. Not our Montero group, but the local Montero group is going. And if anybody else is going, they're planning an after party.
Go through the Pine Barrens
in New Jersey, and they're going to do an off-road trip the next day through that evening, through the New Jersey Pine Barrens. So,
you don't have to have Mitsubishi. You could show up with your
anybody with a 4-wheel drive vehicle can go do this event. They're open to anybody coming and joining them. They're a good group of guys.
Maybe I should drive the Audi.
There you go.
Yeah. I think the Pine Barrens is mostly just like sandy.
The Pine Barrens is mostly sandy dunes through pine trees. It's a bizarre landscape.
Okay.
I've done it myself. I did it last summer with the same Montero group. But they're definitely doing an event. I think it's going to be the day of Radwood after Radwood. They're going to drive there. Okay. It's only like an hour and a half away. And they're going to do a rest of the day off-road trip. And I think the plan is they're going to camp that night if you want to, and then go home Monday morning.
They can
okay.
Go look for the Jersey Devil out there in the Pine Barrens.
Oh, for sure. But yes, anybody bringing a 4-wheel drive vehicle, I highly recommend you look up our friend Eric, who will be there in his Montero, because he's leading the charge on this one. So
his Raider.
Sorry, his Raider, but yes. Yeah, there's going to be a glut of Mitsubishis, so we apologize in advance, but we don't really apologize because we love them.
I swear we're in other cars, but it just worked out that way.
Yes.
As it stands, we currently have more cars signed up than came to Atlanta.
Which is good, because there'll be a lot of people just showing up, too. Yep. So
yes.
I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that buy the day before, and there's a lot of people that buy day of.
Yep. And there's still a month to go.
Yeah, Royalty is 7 tickets away from being sold out.
Excellent. Yeah, I saw that our friend Chris, who we were just talking about, Delica will be in the Royalty.
Yes.
Cool
that Delica is super sweet. So,
yeah, he called me like 4 times. He's like, "Do you think my car's Radwood Royalty?" I'm like, "Yes, please just submit it." I'm like, "If they say no, let me know. I'll call Brad personally and tell him you need to let it in."
Or even if you just went to the regular show.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. There's a lot of really cool cars coming.
I think Mitsubishi Owners Day was at the Navy Yard.
Mitsubishi Owners Day was down the street from the Navy Yard.
Okay. Oh, cool.
It was in the parking lot of... Is it the Flyers Stadium? It's right there?
I think so.
There's a sports complex that's right there, right next to the Navy Yard. And the Mitsubishi Owners Day was held in that parking lot, so a lot of the guys drove over to where that like aircraft carrier was parked to take pictures.
Yeah.
Or docked, I should say, is probably the word, not parked.
Yeah. It looks like a really cool spot.
Yeah, it does. I'm pretty stoked on it.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, the date is what? October 14th, correct?
Yes.
Which is a Sunday, which is also awesome.
It is a Sunday.
Thank you for doing a Sunday show.
Okay. What's your meaning behind that?
It's way less stress because you have you got to work on Friday, and you're not like, I have to scramble to be ready for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You have the entire day Saturday to prepare for it, and then it's over at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and you can go home if you wanted to and be ready for work the next day.
Awards are at 3.
Okay, even at 3 o'clock, I could leave. For us specifically, we're 6 hours away. A 6 hour drive at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is not the end of the world. You know what I mean? Whereas if I had to be there at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, I would have to leave work at 5 o'clock on a Friday and rush down to where the show is on a Saturday morning without any kind of prep. I think it's going to be more relaxing to be able to go.
All right.
I think that we're planning on driving down on Friday night, correct, Andrew?
Yeah.
So any of our listeners that are coming from this area that are going down, if they want to, caravan down with us, that'd be kind of cool, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's
we'll see what happens.
It's difficult.
Yeah, but
cool.
Hang out
to meet up with a bunch of people.
Yeah. I think I will be. Hopefully, anyway. I still need to talk to him about this, but I think I will be flying into Cleveland.
Okay.
And getting one of Cam's cars.
Oh, excellent.
And driving that. So I don't know what I'm going to be in. I'm hoping like the Mystic.
I'll say he has the Mustang, the RX-7, and BMW. I don't know what runs for Radwood, but
Pennsylvania's a big state to drive across.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ohio to Philly trip is going to kind of be.
Yeah. I've done it before. It's not impossible.
Yeah, no, I have to. It's not great, but it happens.
There's also the Nissan Stanza.
Oh, that's right too. That'd be a longer drive.
Do you have 2 to 3 days?
Yeah. That's part of the reason that I'm not scrambling to get my Raider ready.
Because you're not sure it would make it?
No, I know it would make it. I'm not worried about that. It's just it would be a long, lumbering drive at,
Oh, I see.
At 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the Sapporo, we can just I can keep up with Andrew's newer Montero and his Talon at, 80 the whole way there. So it'll be a lot quicker of a trip. So, Radwood prep on the Sapporo, Radwood prep on the Talon. We'll see you all there.
So
that sounds like fun.
All right. So the show is October 14th. Where can people buy tickets?
Radwood.org, or it's linked on the Facebook page, a bunch of places. You can actually buy tickets through Facebook, so that's an available option. Or you can show up day of. Tickets will be a little bit more expensive just to make it so that it's fair for the people who had to pay a processing fee or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And if you want merchandise, it's on your website.
It is. Not everything, but we do have links to our Teespring. You can get stuff there. We don't currently have decals available, but we do have hats on the site.
And the hats are very high quality, and they're very comfortable.
The hats are sweet. I'm wearing one right now, and I'm slowly adding a bunch of pins.
Excellent.
Of 80s and 90s
total 80s style.
Yeah.
The hat with the pins. I said, going back to that conversation earlier, there's a picture of me at a car show in like 1987, and I'm wearing like knee-high gray socks with yellow and green stripes, hot pink short shorts, and a baby blue T-shirt, and a neon green painter's cap that's covered in pins.
Okay. Why aren't you wearing this to Philadelphia?
Because it barely fit me when I was 6, and definitely will not fit me at 37.
I mean, they make those things in adult sizes.
Yeah, I could possibly recreate that picture, but nobody wants to see 37-year-old me in short shorts. And anybody that wanted to see 6-year-old me in short shorts shouldn't have wanted it either, because that's just creepy and weird. But that was just a style at the time. It wasn't weird then. It'd be weird now.
All right. Well, we don't want to keep you all night, so
Well, it's only 6:30 here, so.
That's a valid point. We have 3 more hours with you. So settle in and get drinking.
But it's been great having you on, Brad. It's good to talk to you again. We had fun in Atlanta. I'm glad that we can finally make it happen and get you on here. We had a little technical issue in the beginning. We figured it out. I was playing with the mixing board and messed it up, but
it's all better now. Don't forget to edit that
part
out.
Hopefully it all worked.
I think it sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good in my headphones.
I think everybody will appreciate it. So, where can they find you on the social medias? If you'd like to plug that.
Oh boy, just about everywhere.
You have till 9:30. It's okay. Remember.
There is Radwood Official on Instagram and Twitter, and then we have the Radwood Facebook page. And now there are a ton of regional Radwood Facebook pages. So if you live in a region, you can find that through there as well. I am at BC Brownell on Twitter. I am at Turbo Brad. That's Turbo HBRAD on Instagram. And find me on Facebook. I'll add you as my friend. That's fine.
And where can they find your writing?
That's a good question as well. Currently, I am the Sunday man for jalopnik.com. All Day Sunday is all me, all the time. And then I do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings, as well as I write for a Porsche site called flat6s.com. And then I freelance a bunch of other places. I've had work in, Bring a Trailer, Haggerty, Auto Week, European Car that no longer exists.
I like that you still promote that, though. You can buy back issues of European Car on eBay and read Bradley's work.
I'm still proud of it because it was the magazine that I read when I was a kid.
Yeah, so. No, it's awesome. Like when I had, there's been 2 print articles about my Sapporo, and I will bring it up at any given time because it makes me very happy. One was in Hemming Sports and Exotic Car, and one was in Auto Week.
I always wanted to write for Sport Compact Car, and clearly that can never happen now. So there's that.
That's been 10 years now.
I know.
That's surprising. That's a long time.
I think Sport Compact Car was one of the magazines that really got me into cars.
It definitely got Andrew and I into the cars that we're into.
Yeah.
Because it was the substance. It was like the technical stuff is what I always liked. So that's what got into.
And I blame Grassroots Motorsports magazine for putting the nail in that coffin.
Yeah, another great one.
Putting the nail in the coffin of Sport Compact? Or putting the nail in the coffin of your interest? All right.
Of me liking quasi-terrible cars.
Well, you're like a super user on Grassroots Motorsports, or you were.
Yeah. I was. I just rejoined for the first time in 5 years, and I still have the same account. I have like 15,000 posts on that forum. So.
That's awesome.
Well, anyway, it was great having you on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll wrap this up here. Brad, where can they find you?
As always, on my
I told you.
As always on my very easy to remember Instagram handle of TSISS350.
And
TSIS.
Yes, TSIS350 as it's been called in the past.
You can find our podcast, Auto Off Topic Podcast, on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram. You can find me, Raced in Anger, on Instagram. I think that's about it. As always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.